establish a quorum, I'd ask for all the guests and visitors to please retire behind the rail. Thank you very much. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes the Reverend Renee McKenzie of the Church of the Advocate, also of the 5th Councilmatic District. She is here today as a guest of Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. I would ask all members, guests, and visitors to please rise.
Good morning.
Morning.
Anna Julia Hayward Cooper was born an enslaved woman in 1858. She went on to become an educator, a scholar, an author, and a speaker, and a person who fought for African American liberation. She says that, Anna Cooper says that each of us have within us the singing something in our soul and in our spirit. And it's this singing something that helps us connect with when we are faced with injustice. She said everyone has it. And of course, we know that she was speaking especially to the African American community because that's who she was writing for, but I don't think it was been exclusively for them or for us. We all have the singing something. So my invocation today, my prayer over you today is that God will reach that singing something inside of you. So when you come face to face with injustice, that you will respond from that just place inside, that singing something will ring and justice will prevail. God's blessings upon you as you begin your work. God's blessings upon this community as we live into the vision you prepare for us. God bless us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. We genuinely appreciate you being here. Council, be at ease. Thank you. Thank you. And again, thanks for those inspiring words. Our next order of business is approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 11, 2018. And the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 11th, 2018 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 11, 2018 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. Our next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. And the chair now recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the minority, there are no requests for leaves of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. This time I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to thank everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to come down to witness their government in action. We genuinely appreciate you being here. We hope your day here today is a knowledgeable one, but more importantly, a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. So again, thank you so much for being here. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker, who will present a resolution recognizing October as Breast Awareness Month. Would Tracy Smith and those accompanying her please join the Councilwoman at the podium? I think there should have been.
You might want to clarify for the record, but we understood.
Councilwoman, you know what? I understand this is being broadcast live. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I was simply reading the script, you know.
Oh, you're Tracy. Why don't you come up and stand in the middle, guys? Thank you, Mr. President. On today, it is with extreme honor and privilege that we are able to present this resolution to the leadership and supporting team of an organization who I just learned about in April of 2017 through the Philadelphia chapter of the Lynx. And it was during this time on April the 8th that we partnered with this organization for an event relative to breast cancer awareness and for survivors and to encourage women to thrive. What was different, and this is just for me, what was my education, is that I was very much familiar with many of the mainstream organizations that we automatically know because we think of their brands. And Evelyn Sample Oates, I'm going to ask you to come up and join us because you were with us during that time. Sorry to call you out that way, Evelyn. We knew of them and we knew of their brand, but I had never heard of a Tracy's Bio, and that an organization specifically geared, welcoming of all women, but very much geared towards supporting African American women and women of color whose networks and needs may be a little different and challenging in different ways than with others. Then when I saw Tracy Smith, the founder, one of the founders of the organization, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, I took her to heart because she's a homegirl for me. She grew up in the West Oak Lane community near the 19th and Cheltenham area where I was raised by my grandparents. And that same commitment to neighborhood, that same commitment to service that many of us learned in our earlier years, Tracy has taken that and given it 1,001% of everything that she has and put into this organization. So it's with that in mind that I want to thank all of my colleagues for being able to support this resolution and to very intentionally, and I want you to know we're very intentionally singling out Tracy's Bio for this effort, and that they in their own right are leaders in helping women who are survivors of breast cancer. Thank you.
Whereas, after a year of helping others feel as good as she felt, Tracy founded Tracy's Beautiful Inside and Out Tracy's Bio.
It's cut out of order.
Is that order? Excuse me. I'll be back.
That's right. A resolution recognizing October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and honoring Tracy's Beautiful Inside and Out, a nonprofit breast cancer support organization whose mission is to help survivors maintain a level of normalcy.
Thank you, Councilman Jones, for your excitement. Whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an annual international health campaign organized by major breast cancer charities every October to increase awareness of the disease and to raise funds for the research into its cause, prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and cure. The campaign also offers information and support to those affected by breast cancer. And
whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month was founded in 1985 in October, its aim from the start has been to promote mammography as the most effective weapon in the fight against breast cancer. And
whereas each year in the United States, more than 240,000 women get breast cancer and more than 40,000 women die from the disease. Other than skin cancer, breast cancer is the most common cancer among American women. Getting mammograms regularly can lower the risk of dying from breast cancer. And
whereas most breast cancers are found in women who are 50 years old or older, but breast cancer also affects younger women. About 10% of all new cases of breast cancer in the United States are found in women younger than 45 years of age. Men also get breast cancer, but it is not very common. And
whereas when breast cancer is detected early and is in the localized stage, the 5-year relative survival rate is 100%. Early detection includes doing monthly breast self-exams and scheduling regular clinical breast exams and mammograms.
Whereas in Philadelphia, Tracy Smith is a breast cancer survivor who is also a mother, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, who was born and raised in West Oak Lane. She was educated in the school district of Philadelphia and received her diploma from Franklin Learning Center. And
whereas in 2013, Tracy received the devastating news from her doctor that she had breast cancer. Tracy chose not to see this as a negative, but rather she faced it positively. Every time she went to chemotherapy, she received rave reviews on her personal appearance. She lived her life with the affirmation that I am beautiful, both inside and out, regardless of the loss of her hair, nails, and eyelashes. And
I'm back. Whereas after a year of helping others feel as good as she felt, Tracy founded Tracy's Beautiful Inside and Out, Tracy's Bio, in 2014, with her best friend and business partner, Phyllis Young. The mission of the organization is to help women who are battling cancer maintain a level of normalcy while going through an abnormal process. And
whereas Tracy's Bio is a 501c3 organization dedicated to supporting the breast cancer survivor community. Its mission is to provide, help, inspire hope to all those affected by breast cancer through beautification, education, and support services.
Whereas the organization provides women with services and resources to assist them with the life-changing experience of breast cancer, while providing them with a sisterhood to help them not only survive but thrive while tapping into one's inner strength. And
whereas Tracy's Bio celebrates life, and to date she has served over 25 women with photo shoots, hair and makeup makeovers, and more. This is only the beginning for Tracy, as she has more life to live and more to give. And
whereas Tracy also founded Each One Teach One Child Care Learning Center in 2002 with her business partner, Ms. Young. Today there are 5 of these centers and 1 Christian academy spread throughout the Philadelphia area, serving West Philadelphia, Germantown, Darby, and Southwest Philadelphia. Tracy and Ms. Young serve 350 young scholars each school year and up to 500 each summer. And
now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby recognizes October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and honors Tracy's Beautiful Inside and Out, a nonprofit breast cancer support organization whose mission is to help survivors maintain a level of normalcy.
Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Tracy's bio as evidence of the sincere sentiment of this legislative body. Congratulations.
And while before the council president recognizes Tracy for remarks, I just wanted to encourage everyone in the audience and those who may be watching us at home to learn more about Tracy's bio by visiting their website, www.tracysbio.org. Information about the organization is there, and most importantly, just like any other organization, you can make a contribution at any level in which you like if you're interested in supporting their efforts. Thank you.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Smith for remarks.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. And I just want to say thank you so much for recognizing Tracy's bio. I started this organization at the worst time. I had a mastectomy, I had no hair, and I just finished radiation. And so I needed something more other than what the doctors were giving me. I needed a sisterhood, I needed something more spiritual, and I needed something more mental. I figured if I needed this, there were other ladies that also as well needed that. So I started the organization because it was a need. It was my duty because there are a lot of people that lose their life to breast cancer. I am the fortunate one to say that I am a survivor. And so it was a need for me to grab the hand of the person that was going through what I went through and say, you too can be a survivor as well. And so I thank you not only for just recognizing me, but understand that it is my job. It is our job that we see someone going through breast cancer to reach out and say, sister, you can do it as well. And so I thank you for recognizing this organization. And again, it is my honor to be here, but I'm only doing my job. Thank you.
And council will be at ease. Thank you, and congratulations, and continue to do the great work you're doing. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell, who will present a resolution proclaiming the week of October 15, 2018, Philly Financial Literacy Week, with Nasir Smith And those accompanying him, please join the Councilwoman at the podium. And joining Councilwoman Blackwell, we have Councilman Greenlee, Councilman O, Councilman Taubenberger, Councilwoman, I believe, Parker, and Councilman Green.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Resolution hereby proclaiming the week of October 15, 2018 as Philly Financial Literacy Week. Whereas Philly Financial Literacy Week is a citywide week-long celebration hosted by the People's Innovative Movement, honoring financial planning, community development, education, and wealth building throughout the city of Philadelphia. And
whereas, according to Forbes magazine, 44% of Americans don't have enough cash to cover a $400 emergency, 43% of student loan borrowers are not making payments, 38% of U.S. households have credit card debt, and 33% of American adults have $0 saved for retirement. And whereas making sound financial decisions is key to increasing one's wealth, and households making poor financial decisions experience more financial hardship, which creates a perpetuating cycle that keeps communities impoverished in entire geographic regions. And
whereas financial literacy should be taught early and consistently over time so that children can overcome many of the challenges their parents have faced. And whereas in Philadelphia, financial education in schools is lacking, as there is no requirement for one to be taught personal finance in order to receive a high school diploma. And
whereas Philly Financial Literacy Week will be filled with dozens of educational, entertaining, celebratory, and networking events, workshops, panel discussion, boot camps, and more. The first annual Philly Financial Literacy Week will have themed days that celebrate and educate Philadelphians on various aspects of financial literacy. And
Whereas the educational topics featured during this week include credit and money management, life insurance and retirement, small business and financial planning, benefits of home ownership, student loan education, and stock market education.
Now therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Philadelphia hereby proclaims the week of October 15th, 2018, Philly Financial Literacy Week. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the People's Innovation Movement as a sincere expression of the Council's of City of Philadelphia's gratitude, admiration, and recognition. Congratulations.
And the chair recognizes Mr. Smith for remarks.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you all for honoring this historic week. But I think this is the beginning, and this is actually a civil rights movement that is impacting all of our communities here in the city of Philadelphia. And with everything in me and in my network, I will continue to bridge that gap of information and resources to the communities, to the underserved community of Philadelphia, to give them hope and a sense of dignity and pride to take control of their economic liberating life. I have a tremendous committee that I have aligned with myself, and this movement doesn't just end with us. It starts with all the policymakers to help us continue this fight as we are hosting workshops in various councilmatic districts across the city of Philadelphia. We actually have a workshop tonight at Albury Recreational Center for home ownership. Tomorrow we will be at Max Myers Recreational Center in the Northeast. And then on Saturday, we're having two workshops. One in the morning with Amber's Magical Savings Box, which is a interactive book that teaches young kids how to save. And then later on, also during that same time, at Jardel Recreational Center at Cotman Avenue, we'll be having a stock market education with former stockbroker John Proctor. So we encourage the city of Philadelphia to participate. And if you need more information, you can find us at www.tpimovement.org. Thank you.
Councilor Biddies. Thank you, and congratulations. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla, who will present a resolution recognizing the 85th anniversary of the Ukrainian Genocide of 1932 through 1933. Would Yulana Masarkevich and those accompanying her please join the councilman at the podium? And joining Councilman Squilla, we have Councilman Greenlee, Councilman Dom, and Councilwoman Gimm.
Good to see you. Have everybody come up. Good morning. Today we'd like to do a resolution recognizing the 85th anniversary of the Ukrainian Genocide from 1932 to 1933. Whereas the Ukrainian community of Greater Philadelphia, a dynamic community with many organizations and institutions, in sadness commemorating the 85th anniversary of the Ukrainian Genocide. 85 years ago, the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, as the totalitarian regime, committed an act of genocide through an implementation of engineered famine, confiscating land, grain, and animals from the Ukrainian people, resulting in the deaths of up to 10 million innocent men, women, and children.
Whereas this genocide, Holodomor, meaning murder by starvation, was specifically designed by the Soviet regime to punish independent-minded Ukrainians for their resistance to its economic, political, and social oppression. And whereas at the height of Holodomor in 1933, Ukrainians died at the rate of 25,000 a day, with nearly a third of its victims being children less than 10 years old. And
whereas even as the Soviets continued to export Ukraine's grain to the rest of the world, Ukrainian farmers who tended to the farms in the breadbasket of the USSR were tragically starved to a slow and painful death. And whereas hundreds of archival KGB documents created during this genocide detailed and described the Soviet regime's actions and intention to destroy Ukraine's national identity by deporting and executing Ukraine's religious, intellectual, and cultural leaders, prosecuting or executing any others who dared to speak of the famine or to speak against the Soviet authorities publicly, further destabilizing Ukraine's political structure. And
whereas under the global theme, Ukraine remembers, the world acknowledges, it is necessary that the Ukrainian Genocide, Holodomor, 1932 to 1933, be officially recognized by the global community as a tragic and heinous crime against humanity to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. Now, therefore,
be it resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that we hereby designate the month of November 2018 as Ukrainian Genocide Remembrance Month in Philadelphia. Further resolved that this engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Alma Squilla, President, Ukrainian Community Committee of Philadelphia, further evidence the sincere sentiment of this legislative body. Thank you. Congratulations.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Masakervich for remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, council people. Thank you very much for this resolution. As was said, 85 years ago, Ukraine's borders were closed, and slowly, Moscow implemented a famine, a genocidal famine, which totaled 7 million deaths. The playbook of Moscow continues today. They denied that a famine was raging in a country that was known as the breadbasket of Europe. All the foodstuffs were being taken out of Ukraine. Millions were dying daily. As we said, a total of over 7 million. So I call upon you today. We are having a commemoration of this heinous, tragic event. We are having the commemoration at 1 o'clock at the mayor's reception room. There is a fantastic telling exhibit on the Holodomor. It is a mouthful, Holodomor, famine by starvation. And we urge you, please, to come and show solidarity with Ukraine and with Ukraine's people. As was noted, the Ukrainian community in Philadelphia is a very vibrant, dynamic group. And the ambassador of Ukraine will be attending this event. So please, come down to the mayor's reception room at 1 o'clock and show your solidarity with Ukraine and its people. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Biddies. Thank you and congratulations. Our next order of business is request that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. And Mr. Decker, if you will please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, pursuant to Sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the Council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 180737, 180819, 180823, 180824, 180825, 180826, 180840, 180843, and 180845. And I am pleased to advise you that on October 17, 2018, I signed all the bills that were passed by Council on October 4, 2018, except Bill numbers 180295, AAA, 180498, AAA, and 180504, which I am returning without my signature. And that on October 17, 2018, I signed all the bills that were passed by Council on October 11, 2018. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution confirming the reappointment of San Juanita Gonzalez as a member of the Board of Ethics to serve in the term ending November 16, 2023. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with John F. Kennedy Behavioral Health Center for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 112 North Broad Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Do you have any additional communications?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you. Those messages will be printed in today's journal. And our next order of business is introduction of bills and resolutions. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President. This morning I offer 3 resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing October 21 through 27, 2018 as Lead Poisoning Prevention Week in the City of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and celebrating the formation of Jazz Philadelphia and celebrating its inaugural Philadelphia Jazz Summit on November 2nd and 3rd, 2018.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing the 2nd annual Better Than Success Women in Real Estate Summit in the City of Philadelphia.
Also today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce one bill, one privilege resolution, and one non-privilege resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Powelton Avenue, 38th Street, Filbert Street, and Sloane Street.
For the committee.
And a privilege resolution hereby proclaiming October 2018 as Blindness Awareness Month in Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 46th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf today, I offer one bill and one resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with John F. Kennedy Behavioral Health Center for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 112 North Broad Street.
For the committee.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 37th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Council President. Today you'll offer 2 bills, 2 resolutions, 1 resolution on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Ontario Street, Gall Street, Castor Avenue, Thompson Street, Butler Street Extended, and the Delaware Expressway.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 14523 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts by adding a new subsection entitled IMA, Industrial and Manufacturing Area Overlay District.
For the committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing October 25th as Cardiac Health Awareness Day in the city of Philadelphia and honoring Simon's Heart for promoting cardiac health awareness in Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution confirming the reappointment of San Juanita Gonzalez as a member of the Board of Ethics to serve in the term ending November 16, 2023.
And that will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer one non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situate in the 4th Ward of the city of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Morning, Council President. I have one privileged resolution, and I would like to speak on the resolution after the clerk reads the title, please.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing October 2018 as National Bullying Prevention Month and acknowledging the need for effective bullying intervention.
Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution has been co-sponsored by Council members Taubenberger, Squilla, Reynolds, Brown, Heenan, Parker, Green, Gim, and Bass. And as many of you know, October is National Bullying Prevention Month. And bullying today is a nationwide epidemic. More than 160,000 students stay home from school each day from fear of being bullied. I've teamed up with Dr. Stacy Schwartz, and on your desks there's a book who, along with Lorna Blumen, authored this book, I've Got Your Back, which provides key information on bullying prevention and is geared towards kids ages 5 to 10 and their caregivers. I feel strongly about the importance of bullying prevention, and I've purchased 1,000 books. We've given out about 300 of them. We have 700 left to give out. We can buy more. But we're giving them to schools in the Philadelphia School District. Spring Garden School got books. So if any of you, any district council people, have schools where you want these books distributed, please let us know. We're happy to provide them. They're excellent books. We give them to the teachers and the parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. That will be on today's final passes calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kim.
Hi, good morning, Council President. I have one non-privileged resolution co-sponsored by Council members Blackwell, Green, Reynolds, Brown, Parker, Greenlee, Quinones, Sanchez, and Johnson. And if I could just speak very briefly to the bill afterwards.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A non-privileged resolution urging the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to withdraw its proposed rule changing the definition of public charge, which would harm millions by undermining access to essential health, nutrition, and shelter for immigrants and their families in the city of Philadelphia and across the United States, and expressing opposition to the proposed rule as inhumane and contrary to public health.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. Some of my colleagues should take a close look at this resolution as we'll be voting on it next week, but it in fact drastically changes essential rules allowing access to essential services and potentially compromises the integrity of our immigration system and certainly violates the spirit by which I think our country and our city as well believe in the rights of people to access necessary benefits, especially when they pay into them. And in this way, I think in two different ways, some of the actions that have come across nationally are going to hit here at home in our own city, both through the public charge, which will potentially have massive economic impacts for the city of Philadelphia by denying those who are legal immigrants and considering visa and green card applications to be denied any level of public assistance, and to prove a certain amount of financial income that is 250% above national poverty lines, but also more recently, and I know that some of my other colleagues may speak to this later, the situation in which unaccompanied minors or children who've been separated at the border may be coming to a facility here in our own city. I think in both those ways, what we are seeking to do is that our responsibility is not to turn away or to shame the individuals involved, but to uplift the human rights of children and families, to care for young people effectively, and to seek the best options and to exercise our municipal authority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues. I have one privileged resolution and one bill, and I would like to speak briefly on the resolution after Mr. Decker reads the title.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Section 19-2600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes by extending the period that net operating losses can be carried.
That will be referred to committee.
And a privileged resolution honoring and recognizing the General Services Administration's extensive donation support to Philadelphia schools around the city through the Computers for Learning program. In total, over $575,000 worth of computers have been donated to Philadelphia schools since 2014, and recognizing the extensive assistance the GSA offers to the city of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to mention very briefly how important this program can be. With over $500,000 worth of computers given to the school district already since 2014, this program has great potential, and I would like to host and we have it scheduled, a briefing in the caucus room next week on this very topic as well, because I think we could use this quite a bit, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. That will be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President, for one bill.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away regulations on both sides of Darnell Road from Decatur Road to Dutton Road.
And that bill will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one privilege resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution honoring and recognizing Michael Brody on the occasion of his retirement as President and CEO of Mental Health Partnerships and for his decades of service in the mental health arena.
And that will be in this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I offer one privilege and one non-privilege resolution, co-sponsored by Council Members Squilla, Green, Gim, Bass, and Quinones-Sanchez. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing October 2018 as Filipino American History Month in the city of Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution requesting that the city controller conduct a forensic information systems audit of the city's technological infrastructure.
And that will be on next week's calendar. That concludes our introduction and bills and resolutions.
The next order of business will be reports from the committees. The chair recognizes Councilman Jones for a report from the Committee on Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Public Safety reports one bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Clerk, would you please read the title of the report?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Public Safety, to which is referred Bill Number 180699, entitled An Ordinance, amending Title 10 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Individual Conduct and Activity by amending Section 10615 entitled Disorderly Conduct and Related Offenses, and Chapter 102100 entitled Marijuana Possession, to provide for certain additional offenses to be enforceable by civil penalties under certain terms and conditions. Respectful reports, it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to Council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of Bill Number 180699.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the first reading of this day, Bill number 180699. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. This bill will be placed on a first reading of the calendar for today. And the next action considered by our calendar will be the order of business is the consideration of the calendar. And I note that the bills just reported from this committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have the first reading. These bills will be placed on the second reading of the final passage calendar for next session of council. Clerk, would you please read any other bills on the first reading calendar?
Bill number 180691, entitled an ordinance authorizing Shift Capital to install, own, and maintain proposed access vault encroachments at 3701 through 3707 North Broad Street. And Bill number 180729, entitled an ordinance amending Section 10710, entitled Dumping of Debris and Short Dumping, by adding new provisions and amending Section 10719, entitled Penalties, by further amending the maximum penalty to be assessed, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair agrees. These bills will be placed on the second reading and final passage calendars for our next session. Council, the chair now recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a motion concerning the consideration of the second reading and final passage calendars today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following bills on the second reading and final passage calendars. Numbers 180645, 180697, 180698, 180732, 171054, 180425, 180608, 180689, 180692, 180701, 180702, 180703, 180725, 180726, 180727, 180728, 180737, 180738, 180748, 180752, 180753, 180814, 180816, 180817, 180819, 18083, 180-824, 180-825, 180-826, 180-839, 180-840, 180-843, and 180-845.
Great job. I need a second. It has been moved and seconded that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider these bills just read by Councilman Greenlee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries, and it will be considered a consent agenda shortly. The chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee for the purpose of calling up the bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendars today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to the bills being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars: 180897, 180898, 180900, and 180347-A. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you. Before the consideration of these resolutions and bills, we will consider the public comment as follows. Your public comment must be on the subject of matter on our final passage or second reading on today's calendar in this session. The speakers must sign in order to testify. If you have not already signed in for today's calendar and session, please do so by giving your name to the Sergeant at Arms to the table to my left. I will call you in the order in which your name appears on the sign-in sheet. You will have 3 minutes to speak. In order to be fair, all those wishing to speak, we intend to hold faithful to that time limit. When you see the green light at the podium, there will be 30 seconds remaining to your time. The light will turn yellow, in which a reminder to conclude your remark. Once the 3 minutes have passed, the light will then turn red, and the Sergeant at Arms will appropriately cut off comment at that point. Please respect our rules of council and the policies that we have. We also reserve the right to cut off repetitive conversations on the same subject matter to summarize. And I would ask the Chief Clerk, please read the name for our first speaker today.
Hayward McCain. Commenting on Councilwoman Blackwell's resolution introduced today regarding Blindness Awareness Month.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to see the yellow light, but you got me? Okay. I just want to say thank you, Council President Darrell Clark and Councilwoman Janie Blackwell for her execution and swift support of this resolution. I represent the National Charity for the Education of Humanity and Give Social. Today, I am also representing the National Federation of the Blind. We thank you for the resolution to be voted upon today, making October National Blindness Awareness Month in Philadelphia. At the National Federation of the Blind, we believe that blindness is not the characteristic that portrays who we are or what our future allows. We also are happy that City Council will help us to bring awareness and raise expectations for those with low vision and blindness, for low expectations actually create obstacles for people who are blind and their dreams. We want everyone to know that they can live the life that they wish to live and that blindness is not what defines their future. We also know that faith is defined by the hope and the belief in things unseen. So it is an honor and a privilege of mine to be a part of this resolution saying that faith, every morning getting up and walking by faith and not by sight, knowing that the Lord did not give us the spirit of fear, but gave us the spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. I thank you on behalf of the Keystone chapter of the National Federation for the Blind and the Greater Philadelphia chapter of the National Federation for the Blind. Thank you.
Joe Danahill.
Before Mr. Daniel speaks, I'd just like to say hello to Hayward. Hayward, good seeing you again. Grew up in the same neighborhood. Hadn't seen you in a while. Good seeing you. Please speak.
Okay, this is an official decree of the people in Red Mandamus Quo Warto, and as such requires immediate action and remedy. Every week, council, mayor, governor, and others transfer private property to the government, probably illegally. Our governor, senator, mayor, council, and others above the law. At what point does a public servant become an oath-violating elected monarch? If a man's home is his castle, why has the government stolen my home? Is HUD low-income housing money being used to build a mall on my stolen home? Ignoring your constituents is not allowed. If committing one crime one time would send people to jail, why do numerous violations of both Constitution and law go unprosecuted by the Attorney General? Are officials not concerned of losing re-election because the fix is in? Jefferson warned of officials becoming the legalized version of the criminals. Would soldiers risk their lives knowing that their government was stealing their neighbor's home? Why do public servants hate their constituents so much? The constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of clothes, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 23A1, 23A4, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 28, 26 PA CSA 703, 705, 708, 709, 712, 713, 716, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 158965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call for the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue. The denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 24 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of law government must have its charter to govern revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require Constitution, oath, and law be enforced, and jail is required for all who violate oath, Constitution, or law. I remind Council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, sir. That concludes our public comment session. We will now consider today's bill consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla. I think you had a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for suspension of rules to be able to introduce an additional bill.
Can I get a second? Thank you. We're moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer one bill for introduction.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by amending Section 14502 entitled CTR Center City Overlay by modifying the boundaries of the Market Street East retail area, providing additional regulations and making related changes.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you, Mr. Decker. That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. We will now consider today's bill consent agenda. I would ask the clerk to read the titles of all the bills on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the bill on the consent agenda. Upon such an objection, and without a debate, the bill will be immediately removed from the consent agenda and placed on our regular final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, you will now read the titles of all the bills on the consent agenda.
Bill number 180645, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Broad Street, Master Street, 13th Street, Girard Avenue, Watts Street, and Thompson Street, and to amend the master plan for Temple University. And Bill number 180697, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Parkside Avenue, Belmont Avenue, Girard Avenue, Marion Avenue, and 52nd Street. And Bill number 180698, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Woodbine Avenue, Upland Way, 54th Street, Jefferson Street, 52nd Street, Media Street, and 63rd Street. And Bill number 180732, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Parker Avenue, Ridge Avenue, Cinnaminson Street, and Mitchell Street. And Bill number 171054, entitled An Ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 295 by striking from the City Plan Harner Street from Spring Lane to Manitowana Avenue and reserving and placing on the City Plan a right-of-way. And Bill number 180425, entitled An Ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on both sides of Elmwood Avenue from South 68th Street to South 70th Street. And Bill number 180608, entitled An Ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on Weekle Street between East Tioga Street and East Ontario Street. And Bill number 180689, entitled An Ordinance authorizing the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in a portion of the 4800 block of Trinity Street. And Bill number 180692, entitled An Ordinance legalizing an existing wood deck and ramp encroachment at 1338 through 1344 Rising Sun Avenue. And Bill number 180701, entitled An Ordinance authorizing Building Bach to construct, own, and maintain a proposed loading dock extension encroachment at 1901 South 9th Street. And Bill number 180702, entitled An Ordinance legalizing an existing garage extension encroachment at 1815 South 8th Street. And Bill number 180703, entitled An Ordinance authorizing the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in a portion of the 5800 block of Knox Street. And Bill number 180725, entitled An Ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Locust Street and 46th Street, 46th Street and Larchwood Street, 57th Street and Chestnut Street. And Bill number 180726, entitled an ordinance establishing a parking regulation on Spring Garden Street, north side, 34th Street to 33rd Street. And Bill number 180727, entitled an ordinance establishing a parking regulation on 33rd Street, both sides, Haverford Avenue to Wallace Street. And Bill number 180728, entitled an ordinance amending section 9212 of the Philadelphia Code by prohibiting newsstands on the north side of Arch Street between 18th Street and 19th Street. And Bill number 180737, entitled an ordinance authorizing Esperanza Health to install, own, and maintain a proposed entrance patio encroachment at 861 East Allegheny Avenue. And Bill number 180738, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Penn Street and Kennedy Street, Masher Street and Norris Street. And Bill number 180748, entitled an ordinance amending section 10704 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Litter on Sidewalks, to authorize agreements with the Department of Streets for the placing of privately owned waste and recycling receptacles in the right-of-way. And Bill number 180752, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Mentor Street at Old York Road, Carlisle Street at Loudon Street, 19th Street at Olney Avenue. And Bill number 180753, entitled an ordinance amending section 19213 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Farmers Markets, by adding a permissible location on Germantown Avenue. And Bill number 180814, entitled an ordinance amending section 9206 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Sidewalk Vendors in Neighborhood Business Districts, by adding a designated vendor location in the University City District. And Bill number 180816, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Thompson Street and Crease Street and Girard Avenue, Hancock Street and Girard Avenue, Marlborough Street and Wildey Street, Belgrade Street and Crease Street, Girard Avenue and Frankfurt Avenue, Day Street and Thompson Street. And Bill number 180817, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of 16th Street and Oxford Street, Aspen Street and 25th Street, Aspen Street and 23rd Street, Aspen Street and 24th Street. And Bill number 180819, entitled an ordinance legalizing an existing patio encroachment at 3749 through 51 Midvale Avenue. And Bill number 180823, entitled an ordinance authorizing Anthony Daloya to construct, own, and maintain a proposed exterior stairway encroachment at 2573 Tulip Street. And Bill number 180824, entitled an ordinance authorizing James Mahan to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 2546 East Lehigh Avenue. And Bill number 180825, entitled an ordinance authorizing Fishtown Brew Pub to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 1101 Frankfurt Avenue. And Bill number 180826, entitled an ordinance authorizing Pico Energy Company to construct, own, and maintain proposed a non-standard bollard encroachment at 900 through 22 Lombard Street. And Bill number 180839, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Capitol Street, East Side, Brown Street to Parrish Street, North Street, North Side, 17th Street to 18th Street, 29th Street, both sides, Master Street to Thompson Street, Tioga Street, both sides, Germantown Avenue to Old York Road, 4th Street, both sides, Fairmont Avenue to Green Street. And Bill number 180840, entitled an ordinance authorizing the striking from City Plan number 119 and abandonment of a certain right-of-way reserved for drainage purposes, located along the westerly side of 10th Street, north of Poplar Street, and extending westwardly therefrom. And Bill number 180843, entitled an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 195 by striking from the City Plan Amber Street from Lehigh Avenue to a point northeastwardly therefrom. And Bill number 180845, entitled an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 196 by striking from the City Plan Trenton Avenue from Clearfield Street to Allegheny Avenue, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. These bills having been read on 2 different days, the question for each bill now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker shall call the roll, and upon being called, each council member shall vote aye on each of the bills, nay on each of the bills, or indicate those bills for which the member is voting aye and those bills for which the member is voting nay. Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gimm. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye on all bills. The majority of all members having voted in the affirmative for each of the bills on the consent agenda are passed. We will now consider bills or resolutions on a regular second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, 180-897.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 28th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 180-897 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-898.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 28th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 180-898 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-900.
A resolution initiating action to continue the Aramingo Avenue shopping district beyond its termination date in an area that generally includes the east and west sides of Aramingo Avenue from 3300 Aramingo Avenue to 3995 Aramingo Avenue and certain blocks and streets that intersect that portion of Aramingo Avenue, and for which Impact Community Development Corporation, a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, serves as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Move for the adoption of the resolution. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-900 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-347A.
An ordinance amending Chapter 21-1600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Housing Trust Fund to authorize the establishment of separate sub-funds to receive respectively, revenues attributable to recording fees and revenues attributable to certain payments required upon construction of certain real estate.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that bill number 180-347A be placed on the suspension calendar.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Bill number 180-347A is placed on the suspension calendar. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing October 21 through 27, 2018 as Lead Poisoning Prevention Week in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and celebrating the formation of Jazz Philadelphia and celebrating its inaugural Philadelphia Jazz Summit on November 2nd and 3rd, 2018, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the second annual Better Than Success Women in Real Estate Summit in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair one more time recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution hereby proclaiming October 2018 as Blindness Awareness Month in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing October 25th as Cardiac Health Awareness Day in the City of Philadelphia and honoring Simon's Heart for promoting cardiac health awareness in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
I'm sorry, who? Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing October 2018 as National Bullying Prevention Month and acknowledging the need for effective bullying intervention, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing the General Services Administration extensive donation support to Philadelphia schools around the city through the Computers for Learning program. In total, over $575,000 worth of computers have been donated to Philadelphia schools since 2014, and recognizing the extensive assistance the GSA offers to the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Michael Brody on the occasion of his retirement as President and CEO of Mental Health Partnerships and for his decades of service in the mental health arena, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing October 2018 as Filipino American History Month in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Any speeches on behalf of the minority? Okay, I'm going to wing it. Screen is a little out of kilter. Okay. There you go. Okay. No speeches on behalf of the minority. And behalf of the majority, Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I want to thank you for your support of resolution number 1808518A. I introduced it 2 weeks ago, and it dealt with the temporary moratorium on residential property foreclosures. So now, what are the next steps? We've had a meeting with the Revenue Department. We've had a meeting with the Sheriff's Department. We have a meeting with several of the courts, and we are in the data gathering phase. And what does that mean? We want to know how well, for example, the mortgage foreclosure program is working. We want to know how many of those foreclosures are for bank and private sales versus public auctions due to water and taxes. I want to take a look at how well some of the programs are working. There are several programs that are already on the books to help people in trouble. There's the homestead exemption, there's the senior citizens tax freeze, there's the real estate tax installment plan, there's the active duty reserve and guard tax credit, just to name a few. But a lot of people don't know about them. A lot of people choose to see the letter, put it on the mantelpiece, and deny what's going on. So the question becomes, in this data gathering phase, what are the facts? If the housing counselor programs have adequate counselors to cover the amount of people being oppressed, depressed, and re-gentrified out of neighborhoods in a caseload manner. If I have a caseload of 25 per day or per week, can I reach all of those people in a timely fashion to put together the type of paperwork needed to save their homes? So we're going to look at this Some of the successes, we're going to talk about some of them too. Since the program was established over the last decade, we've saved 11,888 homes. This is something you guys did in this council by passing that moratorium. That has saved 21,000 homeowners through the mortgage diversion program. To date, in the system now, there are 5,900 people currently participating in that program. And what we need to do, whether you are my more conservative members that are bean counters and count budgets, or whether you are my not so conservative members that want to save every soul, this deliberation makes sense to both sides. Because if we put somebody out, make them homeless for $6,400 on average, and then spend $15,000 a year to put them in a shelter, to put them in temporary housing, where does that make dollars? And absolutely no sense. So I want to encourage you to stand fast on this temporary moratorium as we take a look at who's being impacted and make sure that those who are capable of paying, Councilman Dom, actually do pay, and those who are besieged through impacts that they cannot control, such as deep poverty, that they are saved. And it'll make sense at the end of the day, budgetarily. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilman. Continue to do that good work. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I want to commend my colleague, Councilman Curtis Jones, for calling on this moratorium. We also are partnering on how we look at redlining and the discrimination of banks that provide loans for home repairs, and also individuals to become first-time home buyers in conjunction with this issue, but also how we look at the collection of taxes, not so much for individuals who are poor and people who live in deep poverty, but also those who own parcels of land, those who own significant amount of real estate here in the city of Philadelphia, and we aren't going aggressively after them to pay their taxes as we are going after those individuals who live in primarily low-income neighborhoods. So again, I commend my colleague for stepping up to the plate on this particular issue, and this is a great segue into an event that I'm hosting on October the 25th at the Yesha Ballroom at 23rd and Snyder. We will be hosting the first-time home buyer and lending fair in partnership with the Urban Affairs Coalition. Again, we believe that it's critically important that we encourage people to build wealth, and the number one way to build wealth in America is by becoming a first-time home buyer. And so we encourage everyone who is listening to come out to participate. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. And again, that's at Yesha Grand Ballroom on Thursday, October the 25th of 2018. I'm also Council President. I am hosting two meetings in two parts of my district for the Second Councilmatic District Neighborhood Clean and Green Advisory Board. We've been looking at the issue all throughout the summer since I've been hosting on-your-block meetings around particularly litter, trash, illegal dumping, and most importantly, finding ways to clean and green our community. And so we've been successful in turning abandoned lots to beautiful green spaces, and also making sure that community groups have an opportunity to have ownership in some of these lots so they can have high quality places for them to enjoy themselves in our neighborhoods in the midst of all development that's taking place. And so the first meeting is going to take place on Thursday, November the 8th at Myers Recreation Center from 6 to 8 p.m., and that's at 58th and King Sesame Street. And the second meeting will be in South Philadelphia on Tuesday, November the 13th at Bryan Baptist Church at 19th and Federal Streets in South Philadelphia from 6 p.m. To 8 p.m. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Always on the case. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduced a piece of legislation to protect our land from zoning for industrial and manufacturing use in the city of Philadelphia. I've been sitting on a bill for some time, and it's, you know, we hear it in caucus all the time, I'm holding it, and, you know, because of the financial impact it may or may not have until we fully vet it out. But, you know, as we introduce this month currently, or in the beginning of the month as Manufacturing and Industry Month, we have the opportunity, all right, to do all we can. And I've been a staunch, as many other members of this council, staunch member or a proponent for advancing manufacturing causes, and we once were the workshop of the world. All right, it means we made a whole lot of stuff, right? So we make stuff, right? We were the makers workshop of the world. We make movies. All right, that's an industry. We make widgets, we make hats, we had Stetson hats, we make a lot of things here, and a lot of it's coming from our own residents of the city of Philadelphia. I'm proud, you know, I mentioned a few times, we had our Career Expo yesterday in the manufacturing and industry. There was over 50 employers looking for over 1,000 people. There was nowhere near 1,000 people there. There were a lot of people. All right, but there's nowhere near 1,000. That means there are jobs to be had. That means we need to keep, as I'm trying to, showcase and, you know, provide a different vision of what people think manufacturing in industry is. Right? It's not smokestack and dirty pollutant industries anymore, and you're irresponsible business owners, right? They're taking advantage of its workers. Right? It's advanced manufacturing. It is, you know, STEM. It is things that we're learning in our schools and things that we should be learning in schools if we're not. So it's a real opportunity to promote and protect our industrial property. I'm going to start with my district. It's an overlay, and that's what this bill does. And when it applies, it prohibits certain uses, and those uses are stated in the legislation. I'll be coming back with enabling legislation to define the maps on what sections and parts of my district where it's appropriate. But, you know, in one of those prohibited uses, it's junkyards and these salvage yards where you have all these peddlers where people are just destroying our neighborhoods, take advantage of you know, others less fortunate, and, you know, trying to profit off it, and they're doing it illegally. Some are operating illegally and squatting in our on our land right now, on Philadelphia land, and they're acting irresponsible with some of the properties that we have, especially next to our waterways. So the workshop of the world continues. All right, people are looking for jobs. All right, there are jobs available. Again, please contact my office. We can connect you with end users who are, or you know, employers who are looking for employees, and Philadelphia employees, people, you know, who live in our neighborhoods. And this is an incentive overlay that really kind of protects, as we have been protecting the use of industrial land and the preservation of industry, because industry changes, the economy changes. But, you know, I don't know of what that I always hear, nobody want to war with any foot soldiers, right? And nobody operates a business without people, all right? We got the people, and we got a high-dense public school and neighborhood people who are looking to go to work. So this is, in one part, you know, my mission is to see that, you know, we remain the workshop of the world, along with a lot of partners here in City Council, PIDC, the Commerce Department, Planning, and especially my staff and my office, who, you know, I relentlessly, you know, try to push, you know, to find some incentives and how we can preserve what we have, all right, because we're pretty cool, we're pretty awesome, and we want to attract as much business as we can here in the city of Philadelphia and employ our workers. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Good job. It's the best social service program you can have. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, let me just start by reading just a few notes into the record. This is a statement regarding the proposed facility for unaccompanied minors at 5201 Old York Road, which is in the 9th Councilmatic District. Last night, I received a call in which I was informed very briefly about a proposal to house unaccompanied minors at 5201 Old York Road. It's also known as Logan Plaza in the 9th Councilmatic District. Want to note for the record that prior to last night, Mr. President, no one affiliated with this proposal had contacted my office to discuss it, despite the long-time presence of this complex in the Logan neighborhood and the relationship it had built with the community. While being here as the representative for this body, I want to be very clear with my constituents who are thinking about this issue relative to land use, that we are still in fact-gathering mode to gain information about the status of the proposal, but I do want to make it clear. I mean, people heard from Mayor Kinney. I wanted to be clear that I, as the district council person, also stand opposed to this property being used for this purpose. This is an affront not only to the Logan community, but to Philadelphia as a whole, as a sanctuary city that desires to give everyone a chance to realize the American dream, regardless of their immigration status, Mr. President. It is unacceptable for the federal government in its attempt to force this upon us. I will stand with the people of Logan and particularly any other organizations that are interested in joining in this fight if they are ardently opposed to the planned facility. Let me also just note for the record that if there is anyone that is interested in engaging in any kind of civil action or public protest, I want us to remember that we need to get the facts first, and that the people who live in this community deserve to be informed and deserve to be foremost in the discussion about what is being proposed for their community. I also want to note for the record that Councilwoman Sanchez and Councilwoman Gim, you all have taken a great lead in this effort when issues like this have come up previously. And as we gain more facts about this case, very specifically as it relates to land use, as the bigger picture is unveiled, do know that I will count on each of you to assist us and stand in solidarity with the residents who live here about speaking about what they have a right to have a voice in, what goes in their community. And for the rest of my colleagues, we will stand in solidarity to help protect the human rights and the dignity of these children. And I just wanted to make sure I noted that, Mr. President, for the record. On a much more positive note, I want to note that on tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I am hoping that you, Mr. President, all of our colleagues, and anyone who's listening will join us on tomorrow, Saturday, October the 20th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the 1400 block of Vernon Road. This is our ribbon cutting and block party for the improvement of the commercial quarter. Now, Mr. President, you know, government doesn't always get things right. The left hand doesn't always talk to the right hand. But the people in this community have been waiting a mighty long time to see some of their tax dollars reinvested back into their community. And we've had a lot of tragedy over the years on that corridor. Some of it was very public. But, Mr. President, we don't just have a press conference when there's a tragedy in our community. We did what we needed to do, and that was to roll up our sleeves, use a data-driven and research-based process to try to leverage as many public and private resources as we possibly could to make change on that corridor. And so I just quickly need to say a special thanks to Mayor Kinney, along with Director Epps, Commerce Department, Celine Wilson, and that mighty team over at Commerce. We'll be with Reverend Waller tomorrow and and probably almost every other spiritual leader in that region, along with our schools, and most importantly, the Mount Airy Community Council, the residents who live there, our state senator, Art Hayward. If you're listening, State Senator Art Hayward, if you don't deliver on those state funds, that part of this project wouldn't be done. And to our former state representative, Tanyelle Cook-Artis, who is here but who is no longer in the State House, we want to say thank you, because it was also your work while you were in the Pennsylvania General Assembly that helped to secure these dollars. So we're going to have fun, face painting tomorrow, free food, free activities, seniors, and most importantly, Mr. President, I want you to know, because we should be very proud of this along with all of our colleagues, that aside from celebrating the aesthetic and physical improvement of this corridor, Mr. President, there have been over 225 inquiries of people who are waiting in line because they said, this is nice to see this on Vernon Road for the commercial quarter, but we want to know what's going to be available to help us who own these houses that Councilman Curtis Jones was just talking about in his bill around the quarter. So there will be a line. They're waiting for the home loan product. We told them it's coming. Don't kill us. We'll be ready in every council district in 2019, but the people and neighborhoods are going to benefit the more. And I needed to say thank you to my colleagues, all of you for advocating for neighborhood commercial corridors, and to Ira Goldstein, who's going to kick it off and talk about the data relative to the importance of investing in middle neighborhoods. And Wells Fargo, this doesn't happen without your private donation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. That was genuinely a brighter light. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to say thank you. I mentioned last week that we were having this program, the Luciany Blackwell Community Center opening, that we fought for 18 years. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Chairman Brady. I want to thank you. I'm sorry about your accident. The members of council who came, special thanks to Bill Greenlee and Maria Canone Sanchez, and so many people were there. You know, many of you know that Bill Keller, the state rep, was a checker on the waterfront. We had him. We had the former president of Lou's Union. You know, his local was Local 1332. We had war leaders, elected officials. We had so many people. And we were so grateful because, as I said, it was full circle for me. Parkway West School used to be Salzburg, and when Lou went there and when his family went there, they called it Salzy. Now it's Parkway West, but we were there. His family's grocery store was, the whole site was there, where they learned how to deal with people and love public service, and I am just so grateful. And one of my folks was telling me from Malcolm X Park, boy, you must have really loved your husband. Some people were telling me, I've seen you unlike I've seen you before. But like I told my ward last night, if you waited 18 years for something, you'd be moved too to finally get there. So certainly we thank the city. We thank Kelvin Jeremiah and the whole PHA family. And we thank all of you, the universities, all who were there. And we're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. It's an awesome facility. You're to be commended.
We're
Great
trying
job.
to catch up with you, Mr. President.
I knew you had to throw that in there, but it's Thank you, Councilwoman. Good work.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. This week I had the opportunity to do a ride-along with Officer Smith, who's the Community Relations Officer in the 14th Police District. And in riding throughout the 14th Police District, I had the opportunity to come upon Vernon Road, and I had to commend my colleague, Councilman Parker, for really being in the vineyard to address that issue of bringing commercial corridors and showing what can be done. Having worked in the 9th Council District, I saw what that commercial corridor looked like, and to drive by that commercial corridor, I was really just amazed and surprised and glad to see how much the Vernon Road commercial corridor has been transformed. So congratulations. It shows and demonstration what we can do when we work together collectively as both the public and private sector. Also, I just want to remind my colleagues and thank them for their ongoing support for the people in the autism community. This Saturday, October 20th, we'll have the annual Walk Now for Autism Speaks event at Citizens Bank Park. Registration starts at 9 a.m. The event will start at 10 a.m. Once again, my wife, Sheila Mitchell-Green, will be the co-chair of this year's walk. We have a goal of raising over $435,000. We're already over $321,000, and hopefully we'll get to our goal on Saturday or shortly thereafter. And just to remind people in reference to the impact of autism, when my son was diagnosed in 2003, 1 out of every 200 children were identified on the autism spectrum. Now it's 1 out of every 59, 1 out of every 37 boys, and 1 out of every 151 girls. And it impacts boys 4 to 1. And when you think about that number going from in 2003 to now 2018, many of these young people who were children will become adults. So this is going to have a major impact, not only the city of Philadelphia, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but our nation. And I want to thank my colleagues for always supporting. We'll be out there, as we always are, with our Team Julian Green balloons. So if you come out to Citizen Bank Park on Saturday, October 20th, registration's at 9 a.m. The walk will start at 10. Please look for our green balloons. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for your continued awesome work on that very, very important issue. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to reiterate the invitation by the Ukrainian community for the 1 p.m. Presentation at the Mayor's Reception Room down on the second floor at 1 o'clock. So if anybody can attend, happy to see you down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Eleanor Roosevelt said that beautiful young people are accidents of nature, but beautiful old people are works of art.
There you go.
We want to invite all of our colleagues to join Representative Donna Bullock, who's partnered with both your office and my office to see 500 seniors who are beautiful works of art tomorrow. Tomorrow at Temple University Leocoris Center from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., where we will be under the big top of the Golden Life Senior Fair. Over 50 senior services, providers, food, entertainment for 500 old people who we know are works of art. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. I understand they have some awesome live entertainment that's going to be there, too. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just wanted to echo Councilwoman Parker on her really wonderful remarks about standing up for justice in these times. I want to thank you for your leadership, Councilwoman Parker. I also really want to thank other members of this entire body for being incredibly supportive around issues of civil and human rights. Councilman Johnson and I have been working together for a long time about the residential treatment facilities for young people. We all know that congregate care facilities and a mass incarceration mentality towards young people are neither effective, humane, or appropriate settings. And whether you are a child seeking refuge from Honduras or a child born in this city, we're going to try and change this situation. But specifically regarding the shelter that the federal administration says will serve unaccompanied minors, the first thing I would like to add on a more broad level is that no one should believe this administration when they say that these children were never separated from their families. We know from multiple investigations that this administration has had a routine policy of reclassifying all children separated at the border as unaccompanied minors, and that they have lied to the American public consistently and relentlessly about these cruel and inhumane separations. But that does not in any way negate the fact that we do have children who have traveled hundreds of miles under terrifying conditions as refugees from unprecedented violence and terror in their home countries, and we as a nation have to welcome them and figure out the next phase in their journey and let them know that they are loved, that they will not be abandoned or alone in their journey to find a family and a home in this country. But I do think that as we continue to seek information about the municipal requirements, licensing, and et cetera, about the facility, we should be very conscious about the horrifying track record of the particular provider, which is known as Vision Quest, based out in Arizona, a for-profit entity that has been cited in national news reports and locally for numerous complaints at different points about 12 deaths that occurred in their care on the West Coast. After the homicide at Wordsworth, I received numerous calls almost immediately from families and young people here that terrible things were also happening at Vision Quest. So it was thus no surprise when our own DHS ended its contractual relationship with Vision Quest over a year ago here in Philadelphia, as well as their other facility across the state, due to their poor performance. So as we look into the responsibilities of us as a municipal authority about licensing and permits, a full investigation of Vision Quest should occur, and there should be full transparency about all their issues, including any deaths of children that occurred under their watch, runaways, complaints of child abuse, and a lack of oversight, all of which are apparently fairly common with this agency. And this city should have no interest in allowing for incompetent or poor providers to operate under any level of jurisdiction, federal or local, when young, vulnerable children's lives are at stake. And so I want to thank this council for being vigilant and pledge to work very closely and in collaboration with my other partners on council to make sure that we keep our children and all the world's children in the best care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Very important issue. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. I have two comments, one short, one a little longer. But I want to mention on behalf of Councilwoman Parker that she asked me to mention that Vernon Road won the Best Block Impact Award as part of the 2018 Storefront Challenge, so congratulations, Vernon Road. It's a contest, by the way, that's created by the Community Design Collaborative and the city's Department of Commerce to recognize design excellence in storefront facade improvements. My second piece has to do with personal financial literacy this week, Councilwoman Blackwell introduced, and I thought we could turn that inside to our own government. So I'm going to share some facts about the economy that I think we all need to be aware of and what's coming in the next 2 or 3 years. In 2016, when I started and several of my colleagues who were freshmen started, our budget for this city was $4 billion. Today it's $4.7 billion, a 17.3% increase over 3 years against inflation of 5.7%. We went up $700 million. 60% of that went to salaries, benefits, pensions. 2.5% went to education, 20 million. 420 million was for salaries, benefits, and pensions. The reason why I bring this up is because a recent article in Forbes mentioned 50% of the country's economists are predicting a recession in 2020. Half. Now let's bring that to Philadelphia. Our local economy, since 2012 to 2018, for buildings in excess of 4 stories, we have completed construction of 2 million to 4.8 million of square feet. These are buildings that require 24 to 30 months advanced planning. On the books today, for 2020, which is less than 18 months away, 123,000 square feet. So to put that in context, 2012 to 2018, 2 million to 4.8 million. In 2020, 123,000 square feet. And I mention this only because I want us to be sensitive to what's going on in our local economy and with our citizens. We all have seen many citizens whose real estate tax assessments have dramatically increased over the last few years, dramatic. And I'm not sure going into 2020 that that can continue. And I also want to say this because I want to make sure that whatever we do in our city is competitive and we have a level playing field, especially compared to the suburbs. I want to bring this up because I think it's important in any bill that we think about introducing going forward, we think about these factors in the economy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today at 3 o'clock, Councilman Squilla and I will be joining the mayor at the Emergency Response Center at 4th and Spring Garden This is after his declaration last week of a health crisis in the city, in particular Kensington, as it relates to this opioid addiction. And I want to thank the administration for heeding our call. I know Councilman Squilla and I, Councilman Dom, who's been incredibly supportive. The conditions of Kensington, we are in the eyes of the country. Just this week, the New York Times declared Kensington the Walmart of heroin, and it is a narrative that will take us years and years to get away from. But the conditions there are very similar, and I would need to remind people of the 80s in my own neighborhood of Hunting Park when we had the drug epidemic. And at that particular time, we had a public safety strategy of containment, and we have wrested our way through that. And the trauma related to what happened post all of that situation was never dealt with. In Kensington, we have to do things differently. And I have been one of the folks, the most progressive folks around needle exchange, the placement of clinics, methadone clinics and others. In fact, some of my constituents in Fishtown call me the methadone queen for being responsible in how we address this plight across the city. But in Kensington, poor people have the right to live in safe and a clean community. And that's not what we have. We have an occupation of 700 people in addiction, many who are not from the city, who have created a crisis situation where children are walking through needles, through open drug utilization, through prostitution and open sex. This declaration is a step in the right direction. But this council and this administration has to be more intentional in how we provide a quality of life for the folks in Kensington and help people through what is a lifetime journey of recovery as they deal with their addiction. One thing is not more important than the other. It is both of those things that must happen. And I continue to work and believe that our behavioral health system, I know many of you attended a briefing last week from CBH. I can tell you that we still have a lot of work to do to meet people where they are around treatment and services. At the same time, we have to be responsible and ensure that we are taking care of Philadelphians and working with the counties and helping folks go back home. We can't have a plan where we are going to say that we have housing for the 700 people in addiction there. And we can't tell residents in that community that we're going to be able to provide that housing. And until that happens, we are not willing, we don't have the political will to break down these encampments. You've heard me talk about this often. I've been incredibly frustrated at our inability and unwillingness to disrupt lawlessness in the defense of the young people that we are traumatizing every single day. I'll give you an example. Conwell is a special ed mid-school, high academic achieving school in the midst of this. Their enrollment decreased by almost 50% this year because parents, once their kids were selected and visited Conwell, as much as the academic programming was one that they wanted for their children, they were unwilling to put their children in harm's way. And we're working with the school district because the school district has to come up with a busing alternative to get the 380 kids that we still have at the school to school. And we have to figure out how we get the children who live there, who walk to that school, how do we get them to the school safely? And that's a difficult task. And so I remind folks that, some folks have said I'm empathetic. I'm not. I have buried cousins due to addiction. I have an uncle who is in addiction that the entire family is working around. So when people give me numbers, I give them names. And so I am not being cold when I ask that Last Stop be closed because they have people in addiction sleeping in crates and don't have humane conditions for people to go to the bathroom and some basic needs. Now, folks will say, well, it's better than being in the street. That may be true, but it is unacceptable to get the folks in that community to continue to tolerate this stuff. I helped open 2 respite centers in Kensington. I have now called for them to be shut down in the next 6 months because we have been unable to guarantee the public safety of the folks in Kensington. And as a result of that, we're killing the Kensington commercial corridor. This is not an either or, but we have to give long-term residents and those folks who live in Kensington, we have to win back their confidence that we can keep them safe. We cannot let folks in addiction who have no control of their lives occupy a neighborhood and there be no or else strategy. And so today I will stand with the mayor because I got elected to attempt to work through all of these problems. But I can tell you that I'm still not convinced that we are willing to be disruptive and do what is necessary for the residents of Kensington. As all these safe injection sites happen, and I had the pleasure of being on WURD debating Governor Rendell, who's been a great supporter of mine, on their quest for a safe injection site. I'm not the person who has said no to looking at harm reduction. But until you can convince me, and I've said this over, if you can't convince me, you're not convincing 16 other members of council, right? That a safe injection site strategy that is not part of a real reform continuum of care is going to be the answer. Tomorrow I will go to New York and I will sit with the Health Commissioner of New York, who is in the process of setting up 6 sites, not Staten Island, won't say why, right? We all know why. 6 sites, and with the director of Vancouver, who has 26 sites, and has now said the safe injection sites are not enough because their overdoses are going up. We are now going to give away the drug. And so he's going to sit in a panel with me tomorrow to talk about how Canada, who has universal health care, minimum income, and affordable housing, how they now, in order to deal with their overdoses, are going to give away heroin because fentanyl has gotten to Canada. So folks, I appreciate Councilwoman Bass and her committee. We've had many hours of discussion about this. We will now be hosting another session. We have postponed what was originally scheduled for October 23rd to give the mayor and his team and this new declaration an opportunity to work. The mayor has said we're going to do this for 3 months, and if things don't work, we're going to change it up. This is not a Kensington problem. This is a citywide problem. This is a southeastern Pennsylvania problem. And it is a crisis because white men between 22 and 50 are dying, although it is important to note that there's a growing number of Latino and African Americans. We're probably going to lose more to opioid overdoses than we will to shootings this year. So it is a crisis across the board. But how we address this issue, it is about race and economics. And my community in Hunting Park, who suffered the trauma, I am a child product. The reason I got involved in community development in Hunting Park was because of the drug epidemic in Hunting Park at 8th and Butler. In fact, my first march was when Jesse Jackson came into the city to talk about that. And I was about 15 years old. So I have lived this. And I am outraged that folks on the Twitter war, the foundations, and folks from the outside who are coming to tell me that I'm insensitive. I'm not that one. You are not going to come into the 7th Councilmatic District and tell me that I have not lived this every single day. And so, again, I want to acknowledge the administration and what we're going to do today at 3 o'clock. I want to ask my council colleagues to be more engaged in this discussion, because remember, Vancouver has 26 sites. How many are you taking, Councilman Johnson? 20. Exactly. So let us be clear that if there's anything that I've demonstrated in this council floor is that I know how to legislate for the 7th and in the best interest of the entire city. And so while I may be at the forefront of this with Councilman Squilla, this is impacting all of us, and the strategy has to be a citywide strategy, and everybody has to play a part of this. So don't parachute in to tell me what you think I should do, because if you can't put it on your corner, don't come and tell anybody in my neighborhood that we're going to put it on theirs. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you. Strong, strong. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just wanted to say, in corroboration and support of Councilwoman Maria Quinones-Sanchez, who has, in the entire time that I've known her, been at the forefront of dealing with just terrible conditions that exist in her district that she has run for office and has tackled. This heroin opioid issue has been just one of the most difficult issues because of the polarization of people and the fact that they have dug in their heels without really looking at the actual evidence and data with an open mind. What the councilwoman's saying is very true, and we discussed this on the heroin opioid task force in our recommendations. The final recommendation, which was very heated with a lot of conflict, was finally resolved with a recommendation that the city further look and consider the evidence of safe injection sites. There were as many people on that task force opposed to safe injection sites as there were who were saying it should be looked at. And most people had no real answer because we did not really have a chance to fully look at the data. There was not a recommendation for safe injection sites. What was raised is exactly what Councilwoman Quinones-Sanchez said, that while the reports that back up the safe injection sites have come out, all of them were co-authored by the founder of the singular site in Canada. The problem they face is with fentanyl, a single injection of heroin can be lethal. And so, as she said, shockingly, and people may not notice, that they have decided to provide the heroin itself to ensure that it doesn't have fentanyl. And that is leading to a whole nother set of issues in Canada, things that are issues that I think would be explosive here in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, we do have proven ways of helping to prevent, to deter, and to help cure those who have addiction. They do work. They need funding. They need resources. We are fighting at a stalemate right now over something that is untested, that isn't working out well, and we're not putting resources into the things that really do work. But I certainly stand with Councilwoman Sanchez and this council body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes our speeches on behalf of the minority and majority. And with that, I recognize Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October the 25th at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded. Council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 25th, 2018, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you all very much.